This video is basically to explain to those of you who are interested in how a human design chart reading goes, or at least the way that I do them. The goal of a human design reading is just to get more information about yourself and your human design, how you show up in the world, the things that you react to, what may or may not be off, where your strength or your authority is, so on and so forth. So I'm going to break down all the information. Hopefully this answers any questions that you guys may have had. If not, you're always welcome to reach out to me and it can be explained a little bit further. Okay, so I'm going to also try and post the picture of the human design chart within the video, so you guys can kind of have a visual of what I'm talking about. For this particular person, they're a generator. That is their human design type. Their aura is open and enveloping. I'm going to go over this information. I'm going to explain it a little bit more. So they have an open and enveloping aura, which means that they kind of take on energy, other people's energy, a lot easier. Their strategy in life is to wait to respond, which means that instead of, I'm a generator. And learning my strategy has helped me out a lot because I'm a reactive person. And I'm also a very dominant person, which means that I like to take the lead and I like to take control. However, because I'm a generator and my strategy is to wait to respond, then I can still take the lead, but I have to have the information first, or I got to kind of see, what my surroundings are doing before I can be able to make a decision. So this person's strategy is to wait to respond. They have sacral authority, which I'm going to break that down a little bit more. Their profile or their personality is an investigator and a martyr. Their not self is frustration. What that means is when they are not acting in their authority or when they are out of alignment. Their signature is satisfaction. And then they have an incarnation cross, which I like to kind of say is your storyline or your plot to your life. Which is their incarnation cross is a right angle cross of laws. So I'm going to break down or give you kind of an understanding of this person's incarnation cross. Theirs is a 3-1, and that's their Godhead. This person's particular Godhead is, or it transcends confusion and establishes order. So when they're in their not self, which for this person is frustration, then it makes it more difficult for them to take lead and to establish order. They become a little bit more confused. So their incarnation cross, they have energy that drives them to have laws. As a child, if there weren't any rules or laws in place, then they probably found the situation a little bit disturbing or a little bit chaotic. Their particular cross is about living out the laws of the tribe, living out the laws of their community, kind of staying affixed within that sense of security. The lead energy has mutative qualities. That means that there's a drive to make the laws better, but they don't have a revolutionary energy. So it's not something that they're adamant about. It just means that if it's placed in front of them, they're going to enforce it, but they're not going to create any, if that makes sense. So in layman's terms, this person just needs structure in their life. As a generator, again, their life strategy is to respond. This is going to allow them to be more effective in making decisions. Their not self theme, which is frustration, again affects their Godhead, which for them is transcending confusion and establishing order. They have a sacral authority. That means that they have to listen for that internal yes or no. So that they need to go with their gut. The authority is how you make decisions. Some people have an emotional authority, meaning that they have to make decisions based off of what their emotions tell them. This particular person has a sacral authority. That's going to mean that they have to listen to their gut. Go with their gut when they're making decisions. Also, they're an investigator and a martyr, which means that they study things deeply, and they also learn by trial and error. They have a split definition. That means that they have two or more centers that are going to be defined, but they aren't connected. The defined centers in the chart are going to be colored in The undefined centers are going to be the white centers. What this means, because they have two centers that are defined but not connected, they are constantly seeking to bridge that gap, the gap between the two centers. For instance, this person's throat and G center are both defined but not connected. So for them, that means that it just might take them a little bit longer to express how they feel. So the energetic centers are going to be the shapes that are in the chart. Each energetic center is going to be either defined again, which is colored in, or undefined, which is going to be white. For this particular person, the undefined centers are going to be their head, their anja, their heart and ego, their solar plexus, and their spleen. So an undefined or an open center, those are where outside influences are going to manifest into your physical being. When you have an undefined or open center, it means that if you are not aligned with yourself and you're not self-aware, then you are more vulnerable to actually taking on the energy of the other people around you in these particular centers. This is also going to impact your decision making. So if you are not aligned or self-aware and you get around somebody that has a more defined throat center and your throat center is undefined, you're going to express their feelings, if that makes sense. Because you're going to be, your throat, of course, is how you communicate. And so because yours is undefined and you're not self-aware, then you're taking on their energy. So you're going to take on their ideas, and you'll be more prone to expressing their ideas as opposed to your own, if that makes sense. With this particular one, I'm going to break down what the undefined centers mean for this person. So their head, they're thinking about things that don't really matter. So they kind of get a little bit like confused or distracted. This can also be an explanation for people with ADHD. Their anja is undefined. That means that they're pretending to be certain. So they want to appear like they have authority and like they know what they're talking about, but they're just pretending. This person also has a defined throat, which means that even though they're pretending to be certain, they're very good at making people believe that they are. They got a good mouthpiece. So their heart and ego is also undefined, and this is making them feel like they have something to prove. They also have an undefined solar plexus. This is where they avoid confrontation. They also avoid the truth. That whole saying of the truth hurts, this is where that kind of comes from. If the truth kind of throws them off, or if it's something that is going to be difficult for them to face, they avoid it at all costs. Also, their spleen being undefined means that they're holding on to things that are not good for them. They have a hard time letting go of things that do not serve them. We'll talk about the defined centers for this particular person. So their defined centers are going to be their throat, which again, they're able to speak in a fixed way with energies that are going to flow to other centers. So I gave the example before that their throat was connected to their G center. The G center is a clear sense of direction and purpose. So with their throat being connected to their G center, that means that they can communicate very effectively what their purpose is. They also have a defined sacral center. So that means that they possess an enormous source of a powerful influence. They tend to influence the people around them, and they are also a creative life force. They tend to pull, like their success comes from creative aspects. So if they want to find, this person wants to find success in life, it's probably going to happen best in a creative way. With their root center being defined, that means that they're resilient and determined. Your root center, which aligns also with your root chakra, that's the space where you kind of feel either you're feeling safe in life or you don't feel so safe in life. It just depends on what's defined or if it's undefined for you. But for this particular person, their root center is actually defined. Okay, so now I'm going to explain the channels. The channels, when you're looking at the picture, the channels are like those lines that are going to connect the numbers, which are the gates, to the centers. Okay, so the channels are basically how your centers communicate with one another. Each of those numbers are going to mean something specific. The channels is what creates the defined centers. So the defined centers are going to characterize a specific theme for your life. It's your function, how you're functioning, or your particular gift. And it's because it's defined, it's going to be consistent and reliable. If it's undefined, then it's more out of balance or vulnerable. These are your undefined channels are the ones that you're going to have to pay more attention to in order to make sure that you stay grounded in those, if that makes sense. So I want to kind of explain a little bit about the gates. For this particular human design chart, the throat is connected to their G center by gates 13 and 33. Gate 13 is the gate of the listener. What this means is that they have the energy of listening and being open to receiving information. And because it's connected to gate 33, which is the gate of privacy, that probably sounds a little bit contradictory. But what this says for this person is that they can listen and take in the information and then keep it sacred. They're also able to regurgitate that information back to the person. Like if they were coming to them for advice or something, they're able to give them advice in a way that they'll understand it. So gate 33, the gate of privacy, is the energy to retreat and reflect on experiences. So remember, this person being a generator, meaning that they have to wait and respond. Sometimes when someone comes to us for advice, our initial response is to give them advice like that. But with this particular person, it would be better for them to sit on the information, process it, research it if they need to, and then give advice. That's the way to respond. And then also that goes to their gate 33. So it also allows them to collect information and again, structure them in a more cohesive way. If this person asked me some specifics or had some specific concerns and wanted me to kind of address them based off of their human design, one of them was internal and external pain. So this was a little vague. They didn't go into detail about the internal and external pain. So what I had to do was kind of tap into their energy a little bit. And based off of the human design, what I got from this was that emotionally, the pain that they tend to feel is not their own. It comes from their surroundings. It comes from the people that they're dealing with. Based off of their human design, they tend to want to have an immediate fix or look for an immediate fix. And because they can't give an immediate fix, they tend to absorb this energy as their own, and they become frustrated. And now remember, the frustration is their not self. So when they're in a state of frustration, then they're not aligned and they're not able to walk in their strength and their authority. Things tend to become inconsistent and unclear. This will also manifest into physical pain. And for this particular person, it's coming through as like a headache or like muscle aches. As a generator, when faced with helping someone with a problem, it is very important to meditate on the issue before attempting to just give an answer. This is going to allow that person, the generator, to not emotionally be connected to that problem themselves, and that way they won't feel that sickness in their body, and because we tend to take that in. And so instead of trying to give an answer based on personal experiences, which this particular human design will do, meditate on the issue to be able to get a clearer understanding of what's going on for that person, not for yourself. I also gave the advice to balance out the chakras that are going to resonate with this person's undefined centers. And the chakras for this person is going to be the crown chakra, the third eye chakra, the heart, and the solar plexus. They're also concerned about betrayal, healing physically, mentally, and emotionally from people that caused trauma, and things that they felt that were keeping them stuck, even though they feel that they've already forgiven fully. I emphasize they feel because the energy that I'm receiving is that they haven't. I believe that the forgiveness was surface level. It was one of those things where I'm gonna say I forgive you so that I can move on, but deep down the forgiveness wasn't done. And it could very well be the forgiveness of themselves. It may not. They may have forgiven the people, but they probably have not forgiven themselves. That's just what I was reading from that. So what I kind of explained to them was this information, the way that they're feeling, that is going to refer back to the heart center, where they're constantly looking for validation. They also constantly feel like they have something that they need to prove. From a healing standpoint, they have to do inner child work and shadow work. Again, going back to learning how to forgive, they said that they forgave, and again, they may have forgiven the people, but it just kind of feels like maybe there is some forgiveness lacking that I'm feeling. So it may be that self-forgiveness. But this is going to allow them to release responsibility and move in grace. Balancing the heart chakra is also going to aid in this, as well as the root chakra. Now, with this particular person, their root chakra is actually defined, but because they don't currently feel safe in their body because of past trauma, they're blocking what subconsciously they know to be true. They also know these things to be true consciously, but again, the trauma is overriding that. And so for them in particular, this is going to be gates 38, which is finding meaning in the struggle. So they're having a hard time connecting what their struggle is to what their purpose is. Gate 41, which is regrouping and preparing for what's next. They're not allowing themselves to, again, going back to understanding that purpose and being able to allow that to push them forward or prepare for what's to come. Gate 52 is being still to be able to see the full picture. Right now, because their root chakra, although it is defined, is a little bit iffy at the moment because of trauma. They're not able to see the full picture. They're kind of taking every individual scenario for what it is, as opposed to them being linked to each other in order to see the whole picture. Gate 54 is ambition and doing things in a big way. They're not allowing themselves, they're blocking off their own ambition, which again is keeping them from the bigger picture. I'm getting that this person knows what the next step is, but that self-forgiveness and that trauma is keeping them from that. The fear is not attached to the fear of failure. It's more so attached to a fear of freedom. They feel like once they forgive themselves, because they have forgiven the other people, it's still very surface level, but once they forgive themselves, it's going to cut ties. And I'm getting that though the ties that they're holding on to has a deeper meaning, a deeper maybe to their past or their childhood, and they're afraid to let those things go because they're not sure of who they are without that. So they know exactly what they need to do. They're just not allowing themselves to do it. Gate 58 is finding joy in life, challenging the norm to make life better. Now remember, with this particular person, they're not the revolutionary type of person, so they're not going to create the rules or create the laws. But if it means that their joy and their happiness are on the other side of that, then they will challenge it a little bit. However, this person is playing it safe. And so the reason that they can't find the joy that they know is on the other side is because they're playing it a little too safe. And then also gate 60, which is accepting and appreciating the journey. They're having a hard time doing that. And again, it's coming from that energy of just wanting to please everybody else. So they're kind of stuck in that space of having to prove something, wanting to please everybody else, and just not allowing themselves to break that tie of freedom to be able to forgive themselves and move into their authority. So initially they need to heal their root chakra so that they can get back on track. Okay, so that was the overall consistency of this human design breakdown for this particular person. If you are interested in knowing more, if you're wanting your own human design reading, click the link in my bio. We can get that done for you.